the story gets, whoa, hold up, like, stop that train. That's not working. The X, like, that's not helping. That's arguing for your limitation. You're making a really big argument for why it's not working, and you want it to work. I would stop. I'd take a breath. Like, that's what I say to myself. Like, we don't need to go there.
This is Heal Your Part, and I'm Jennifer Herrera. I'm on a mission to help you heal what's in the way, so you can see yourself the way your soul does. Because when you heal your part, everything shifts. Today, I am so excited to share a conversation with Amanda Dykann, a teacher, yoga practitioner, retreat facilitator, a healer, and just truly one of those people who embodies what she teaches. Amanda's journey is layered and human and deeply spiritual. In this episode, we talk about her early sense of inner knowing, that even as her life brought challenges like many of us, she was reconnecting with a deeper sense of herself in her youth. We explored how she navigated postpartum, being in a relationship that wasn't safe for her well-being, and the courageous choice to leave it even in the most vulnerable moment of her life. We also talk about what it means to live intuitively, to trust your path, and to create work in the world that's not just about delivering an experience, but about holding a space for people to evolve. Amanda has led beautiful retreats all over the world, and she's just so honest here about what she's learned about herself, about her business, and about what it really means to help people heal. We talk about vibration, manifestation, and the ways we sometimes argue for our own limitations. This is a conversation full of aha moments, emotional honesty, and resilient wisdom. I really hope you'll give yourself space to listen in. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Heal Your Part podcast. I am so excited to invite Amanda Dykann as my guest. Amanda is my very first guest, and I think it's very apropos because she has been in my life for over a decade, and we have had different paths, but been such integral, I think, support in our each particular journey. And this topic around healing, the healing arts, the way healing can occur, she is a perfect person to discuss this with because she's got a lot of history, and her path has been really interesting and colorful and in different ways than myself. So I'm really excited to dig in and have this dialogue with you, Amanda. So thank you for joining me. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Would you be so kind as just to start by introducing yourself and just sharing a little bit about you and your journey and whatever's present for you that helps kind of paint the picture of who you are and who we're talking to?
Absolutely. Yes. My name is Amanda Dykann, and I grew up in Colorado. I've always been on a healing path, I would say. I've always been a very sensitive being, always feeling a connection to a higher sense of a power, a higher power. And I wasn't religious. We were not religious growing up, but I was always yearning for some kind of spiritual context. And I thought it was religion. I was sort of like, why aren't we going to church? I want to go to church, that kind of feeling, but never really finding the right fit for me, and not really feeling that anchor until later on in my life. So I was very connected to my body physically. Growing up, I did sports. I really felt like as I was out of college and getting into my career, I went to school for communication, to finish with a degree in communication, which would have put me in I thought advertising. I wanted to be in a corporate job. I wanted to be on Wall Street. I wanted to move to New York City and be on Wall Street. My parents were very much in the arts. My dad is a musician. My mom, she taught skiing for years as her profession. And I just thought, these people need to get real jobs. This is not acceptable. We don't have enough money. They're doing what they love. It's not enough. We're missing something here. So I was always like, I'm going for the money, the security. I want a retirement fund. I'm on a path, a plan in my mind. So I get out of college and get a job right away. And I had already known that I would be going into this job. It was a event coordinator at a country club. And I remember the first year, and we was sitting at a desk for hours. I had, on paper, it looked like the most cool job ever. I was working with celebrities and planning events for them. And it was a prestigious club in Aspen, Colorado. So I was like seeing all these, Catherine Zeta-Jones was a member, and we'd have like a lot of celebrity like interactions. But by the time the day was over, I would go run the event at night, and I was sitting at a desk, and what stands out of my mind is like one of my colleagues was like, she had M&Ms in her desk, and she'd always like open the drawer, pull an M&M out. And I would do that. Then I started feeling really bad. My body was hurting. And after a year, I was like, I don't think this is like good. And I wanted to run marathons. So I was trying to run in between my shifts and my 9 to 5, but I was working overtime. By the time that first or second year, I think I probably made it a year and a half out of college. And my boss she was a good friend. She was like, I think you should do yoga. I want to see you do yoga, because I was into yoga as well. And I just took that and ran. And I quit the job. I went to waiting tables. I started moving in the yoga direction, doing more classes and running marathons. I ran about 4 marathons, maybe 5. I did a lot of half marathons. And then I was like, I'm ready to go to my training. My good friend got me to the training. I didn't really want to be a teacher because I was nervous to talk in front of people. All the while I was like trying to find myself. I wasn't really sure, but I knew my body was calling me to move it. So like the movement of the body, the flexibility during the day. I skied every day and waited tables at night, made cash. So made a lot of money, but it was like not my dream career. I was feeling the money. So that was good. I was like, okay, this is good. I'm making money, but I was not planning on waiting tables. That was not a plan. I did not want to do that for very long. So I went to training. I went to the Bikram teacher training in 2007. And that was probably the beginning of the change inside, that I started to recognize there's so much more going on inside of me. I quit running after that because I recognized like running was not serving me. It was breaking me down. And the yoga was like this opposite, where it was like, I was working out in this Bikram setting. It's 105 degree heat. It's super hot. You're sweating and your heart rate's up. And I got that euphoric feeling that I got in running. And I was like, this is like the opposite of running, but better. And I'm getting the same euphoric hit, but I'm like feeling all my cells alive, versus when I would run, I would go numb. Like my goal running would be like, okay, get to a point where I don't feel my body hurting anymore, and then I can go for hours. And this was like, I want to feel every part of my body awake in the yoga. So I just quit running. And then the yoga just became the path. And I started doing massage. I started to do my own business. So I created a yoga retreat business like pretty quick after my training. And then it was something that came to me very spirit filled, I would say. Like it was with ease, I was getting clients and I was getting work. So it was like, I quit the waiting tables. I was able to transfer like my days from waiting tables to like make rent, and then yoga, like you don't get paid a lot in yoga, to then flopping it where I was making a lot of money doing yoga, doing massage and doing privates. And then I went to spiritual psychology, USM, University of Santa Monica, in 2010. So this was about 8 years after I graduated college, and I had just completely shifted my whole mindset. And I didn't even know where I was going. I just kept following what was feeling good. And the money was coming, and the path was just revealing itself as I just kept moving forward with what I was doing and what I felt good doing. And I remember thinking, okay, I guess my parents were onto something. Like now I started to like really embrace like their decisions and their choices, and I just started to see things and after the USM I got so many different skills and ways of seeing the world. And that was really where my spiritual evolution accelerated, because I had what I called, like, I had words, how my heart was feeling and what was happening inside of me. I had like a language to use. It was what I needed. It was everything. It felt so comfortable. It wasn't new. It was like, oh, other people have, and there's words that I can use to explain how I feel and how I see the world, and this context of, life that's so different than what the general world I felt was operating under. So that was a huge thing. And then since then, I've gone through my continued challenges of life, and I have a 5-year-old. I went through a very abusive relationship with his dad, and that kind of moved me again into another spiritual evolution. And now I live in Hawaii, and I'm raising my 5-year-old here. I had to sort of start over a little bit my business, just because I moved to a new place that I don't know many people. I didn't know anyone when we first moved here. It's been 4 years now, and I'm just building here. And yeah, it feels really, really great. I mean, it feels really great. It's definitely a ride. And I remember thinking, like, going through the relationship, thinking, oh my gosh, I thought I was getting all this wisdom to, like, not go through problems. Like, I thought that was, like, the goal. You don't go through problems once you get, like, a good enough head on your shoulders to see the world in a great way. But I do now see, again, like, another perspective of, like, okay, yeah, that served me so well to go through narcissistic abuse, to really understand people, to see how some of my patterns were playing out in ways I didn't even recognize before, without that intense narcissistic behavior and being attracted to that and in play with that. I got to really notice how I was codependent that I didn't realize, and really cleared a lot of my people pleasing nature, because I just became aware, like, I don't have to make people like me, especially if they're going to be like this.
Yeah.
This is people, like, I don't want to focus my energy. And it took some time to get there, but yeah, that's a long story short.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, let me just jump in for a minute and just say, like, it's funny that you went back to your folks, because that was the first thing I thought of like, oh, well, first of all, we're 10 years apart in age, but I think it's really interesting. And I think every human does this in different ways, but it's like, in relationship to whoever was our primary caregiver or caregivers, we start to kind of make assessments about what we want our life to be. I think a lot of that is done unconsciously, but I think it's interesting that you were like, I want the security, because it's like, yeah, there was a couple of things that you shared that I know, but there was a couple of things I did not know. I remember you having that job at the country club, but I don't recall knowing that you were like, I want security, because I feel like I definitely took that kind of path, and my projection onto you is like just the freedom of, like, which is who you are and how, your life, but it would be the opposite of that. So I think it's so interesting, and it also seems powerful in how quickly you arrived to each of those stages in your journey of, like, what was working, what wasn't working.
And it might be because of that. I think there is, I guess, as free as I am, and we know each other, you know me as very, very free, as you said, but I think there is that underlying value and intention to have security. And it might have then manifested as a trust in spirit on a level that I almost correlate with we depend on the 401k. And I am, like, depending on God. God is my security. And I'm looking at it as if it was a 401k in a way. And that's, wow. I don't know how to describe it except that way, where it's a real unconscious, it's deep. But I think that you're hitting the head there, because it's very, very interesting. I'm very much want security.
I appreciate that reflection, because I feel like even just your identification that, like, your faith and your relationship with God is your 401k. And I feel like that takes a tremendous amount of belief. And when you said unconscious, what I was thinking is like intangible. You cannot necessarily bring in physical form what you're talking about, but it's a knowing. Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just embedded. It's like, can't describe it, because it's how I was born. I've been so aware of my divinity since the beginning.
I'm wondering if you have a connection or an awareness of like, what were some of the thoughts that you were having that were giving you the confidence enough to make those shifts and changes? Like, do you recall any of that?
I think that's part of what this is for me. It's like I'm very much guided by a presence that's powerful and beyond me. So there's a lot of insecurity within me, a lot of insecure mental thoughts. Like, I don't feel like I look good enough. And this is all past and obviously still like it's a thread, but it's like wanting to fit in with others. A lot of my choices in my, ego have been in just to fit in, just to like fit into a society that I just want. I don't even know if this is going to make sense, but there's this sense of if I could just be accepted, then I could get to work. I don't even feel like I can get accepted into the society because I'm so odd and so different. And like, if I could just show them that I'm like them, then we can start to work on whatever it is I'm meant to do here. That's sort of this thing. And so like younger, I wasn't that aware, but I definitely remember thinking, okay, so I just had these awarenesses like in high school. It's like, okay, it's not going to be like this in a few years. Just relax. Things aren't that big of a deal. It's going to be okay. This is not the rest of time. Like, just take a deep breath. You're going to get through it. I would be coaching myself internally a lot as I was struggling outwardly with friendships and fitting in and people bullying me. And then just thinking, okay, I can handle this. This is okay. Like, I won't know her. I'm going to move schools and I won't know her. So this is not a problem. Things will shift and time will reveal more. That was my running tape as a kid.
Wow. I just so appreciate like what you're sharing and your vulnerability. And to me, what I feel like I just witnessed was the reality of being embodied, of being human, and how we're on a path. And because I feel like anyone who maybe isn't on this journey could hear your emotion and what you were sharing, with your voice. And concurrently, what I also hear is like such wisdom and such that there is such security and stability in that wisdom that even as a young person, you were coaching yourself. I was trying to read books, but I did not have that voice. Yeah. That was not there for me. And we kind of talked a little bit beforehand, the opportunity part of our dialogue. And I feel like you just so powerfully demonstrated it was like the mind body. What were the voices? Because what I heard you share initially, which I thought was like, wow, I was like, where's she going? I'm like, so interested here. It's like you were acknowledging, this is what I heard. So please correct me if I'm not kind of getting what you were saying. It's like, I have insecurities like everybody else. Yes. And they are something I work with and they help me. And I don't allow them, or some part of me is not allowing that to run my life per se.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And I think I have a ability to handle a lot, but I'm more so in the last like 5, 6, 7 years recognized how, well, even just after the relationship that I went through, how important it is now for me to move back into myself in a deeper way and support myself in the ways that I once thought outwardly was going to move me in the world in a way that felt good. Now I'm like, oh my gosh, no, my inner relationship is where I really want to focus. And that is gold. I think I've taken for granted the fact that I'm connected to my inner being and insides. Abraham Hicks, like, she comes to mind every time when I first heard her. I don't know if anyone's listened to Abraham Hicks. That, like, 15 years ago, I had her just playing in the background. If I was ever in a argument with someone or a fight with anybody, I would just easily hear what she was saying. She just talks about this bigger perspective. and that just focus on the good, and the good gets better. And so there was a lot of just repositioning my mind so that I could just move through the discomfort and recalibrate myself, because I do vibrate on a very high frequency that is good, but I'm very influenced, and I can pick up other people's stuff really quick. So I think that might be part of how it works for me. But yeah, I have the same things that all humans have, like insecurities and stuff. I think I just have an inner voice that's helpful. I have an inner critic. I for sure have an inner critic, but yeah, like I said, just going more inward and establishing a better relationship within myself is where I'm now in a different place than I was when I was younger.
Well, thank you for what you already shared. It was so beautiful and powerful, and I just appreciate your willingness to open your heart in the conversation, which to me is very much a reflection of your opening your heart to yourself, just being in this moment. And I also have heard in just our conversation right now, all the ways in which you have been cultivating this inner relationship. What I hear of like honoring your life, like having a loyalty to your own soul, even when you didn't always have all the words, as you said, when you got to Santa Monica, you had a expanded vernacular and vocabulary around all that. And the other piece too, before I forget, I want to mention when you talked about the M&Ms and then you're running and how you made the shift of like, this marathon running piece is not really for me. This is. And so that like listening and then pivoting, I feel like all of that are demonstrations of how you've been on your journey and with the intention of being awake and listening and making choices and decisions from that place. And yes, you have a human journey and all the things that are going to happen as you mature and come into different parts of your life now being a mom.
I was never attached to the work. I was never going to make the choice, oh, well, I have a business here I can't walk away from. It was more wanting to make the right decision and so open to what that would be, but not wanting to make the wrong choice. Like that's where it was like I was wrapped up in like, do I leave or do I stay? Do I leave or do I stay? And what am I meant to do here? And by the time I end up leaving, it was a leap of faith. It was just a full on, felt like I'm just leaping into thin air. I have no idea what will happen. But I also was rational, and I thought I can just come back. Like I can just come back. That's fine. So there's also that leveling of like, there's not a big problem here. Like it feels so intense and there's a lot of feelings, but it's going to be okay. It will be okay. And I have choices. I can see that fairly quickly. I have a devil's advocate. I have a seeing of all sides of stuff before I have a narrow focus. I can see it all, and then I have to pick. Where are you going to focus? That's the hardest part for me.
Wow. I love that you know that. And I feel like what you just explained or expressed, all that can come forward when we want to do something different that's really something we haven't done before. And I love that practicality that's like, well, I can just go back. Like, I know that. As far as I know, Colorado's not going to fall into the ocean. You know what I mean? Like, it's still there. Yeah. I love that. Well, I'm wondering, because you mentioned Abraham Hicks.
Yes.
And I know you touched initially on your journey of yoga and body work and your retreat business, but I'm wondering if you would share a little bit more about, and maybe it's Abraham Hicks. I didn't know you started listening to, is it them, her, way back then. What has been a tool, or what tools have you found that have really supported you, and why? Like, I'm just really curious about that.
Yeah, I got a lot of tools from USM that I found super helpful. And I journal. I've been journaling since, I think my first journal was like 1992. I was 10. And I have them all. And I never meant to keep them. They seem to just come with me wherever. I meant to burn them one time in USM. Everyone was burning their journals. I was like, I could. I'm not attached to them, but they've just managed to like stay with me through time. So I have like so many journals. I write. I love to write. That feels very cathartic and like clearing. And I write a lot of I am statements, affirming I am. There's a few years of journaling where I am love. I am divine. I just write over and over and over. When I'm not sure what to write, I just start with I am, and then it just snowballs. I am love. And I even like give myself permission to be all of the things. Like I am insecure sometimes. I am powerful. Like just anchoring there really supports me. That's usually what I do if I need to journal, I need help and I don't know what to do. Putting Abraham Hicks on, just listening to a consistent line of thinking that for me, it takes me out of all the confusion and just gets me connected to my well-being. That's very helpful. And she's just like, she's got this cadence in her voice. And so by just hearing it, it's almost like an energetic comes through where I can just listen, and she's so consistent with what she says. So it's like a little tape of just on repeat of we're divine beings. Like we have a inner being, and the inner being would not see it this way. It's like match up to your inner being and you're good. Get away from your inner being, like move away from that vortex of good where you vibrate high or not even high or low. It's just a frequency that feels good. The inner being always feels good. And if you're not feeling good, you're just disconnected from your inner being. So it could be as simple as just line up with her or him, be in that inner being, and you have the ability to like reprogram your frequency really quick in that way. That works for me.
So hopefully you hear that, listener. I feel like there's two things that Amanda just said that are so powerful. And I love that idea of when you don't know what to write, just to start with that I am statement and to allow yourself. I can hear how that kind of intentional, just by repetition, that it's like a programming, right? And I hear that kind of the compassion in there, so that's a powerful practice that sounds really simple, but can be so powerful. And then I also hear the message that I hear you reflecting from Abraham Hicks is that we all have an inner being, and that inner being is good, that's where we are fully connected and reunited with our good. Right? Did I get that right?
The feeling of good, like the neutrality. It could be also neutrality. It doesn't have to be on a scale of good or bad, but to me, it's like, it's neutral, but it's also like if my ego is confused, it's like, well, when do you feel good? Well, that's what we're attempting to get to, right? Whenever we're not feeling good, it's like, well, what is whatever you want going to get you? It's going to get you to feel better. So as an ego, it's like we're always looking for something to feel better with. And we don't need to get something to feel better from out there because we've got the feeling betterness vibrating inside of us already, always. And anything we need, every time we say, I need something, it's only to get us to that place where we feel like we're at the frequency that we already vibrate at without.
I wanted to put an exclamation point on that and like kind of engage the listener that it's like, these are those things. And this has been something that I've lived by, and I really can't say it enough. When you hear something and your attention is drawn to it, that means it's for you. That means it's for you. If you don't catch it, it means that's not for you, at least not right now. Yeah. And I always want to encourage that if you're listening to this conversation and there's some things that Amanda has been sharing that really resonate with you, that is your inner being actually trying to call your attention forward. And there's something really beautiful about honoring that, about taking whatever that is, that ping to the next level. And that could be about practicing. It could be about learning more, but it's just about a listening, And so I wanted to encourage that because there was some good stuff you were sharing there.
The next level, right? If you want to manifest, it's being in the vibration of what you're wanting before you see it outwardly. If I'm just like, need something, I'm going crazy. I feel uncomfortable. I'm crying. I'm like, my mind is spinning. I'm in it. Just getting to that neutral place is really powerful by just knowing, okay, I'm already there inside. Let's find that place. But if I'm like setting goals and I want to go create, then it becomes a whole nother fun opportunity of, I want a new job, a new house. I want that house with that yard and that view and in that place. Like, then it's imagining and getting really excited about what does that feel like? What does it feel like to sit in your kitchen that's beautiful and the light's coming in and you're just like calm, and the house is giving you this calm. The house is giving you the love that you've wanted, the peace, the space. It's like, just close your eyes and become there. And being in that presence, right, of that feeling that we're wanting, that's how we manifest. And even by doing it and writing about it, right, the ideal scenes or the living visions, it's like we're already there inside. It is fulfilled internally because we've already lined up with, it's just simple as lining up with your inner being. Inner being doesn't need a big house, doesn't need money, doesn't need people to like you, needs nothing. So, but we want that, and we deserve it, and we can have it. And so when we just get ourselves there first, and the irony, I'm just going to say one more thing about Abraham Hicks, is like, when we're thinking about getting money because we don't have money, then our vibration is actually the lack of money. So we're putting out the vibration of not having, because for us in that scenario, the only way to realize you want money is because you don't have it. So that's already bringing you back to the I don't have it. Why do you want it? Because I don't have it. No, why do you want it? Oh, because I want to travel. I want to start to move into the positive of why you want it, rather than, well, because I don't have it and I'm suffering and my rent's due and I'm so stressed and my heart hurts and my stomach hurts and I wake up. Whoa, we're going down the wrong track, because now we're going to bring more illness, more pain, more suffering, more lack. The story gets, whoa, hold up, like, stop that train. That's not working. The X, like, that's not helping. That's arguing for your limitation. You're making a really big argument for why it's not working, and you want it to work. I would stop. I'd take a breath. Like, that's what I say to myself. Like, we don't need to go there. We already know that we don't like that. So let's just stop, and then take a nap. How do we stop? I don't know. I keep. Let's take a nap. Take a bath. Go look at something that you know already works. What's something that just immediately brings you back to your, things are kind of good, or I love something, anything. You don't have to create the house scene right this hot minute, because anything other than that, or the money scene, right, that's taking you into the anxiety, anything other than that is better, and it will actually get your money back up to speed. So she says every subject is the same subject. So you don't have to focus on what's not working to get it up to speed. Focus on what's already working, and that will be enough energy to catch everything else up to speed, so that you're in a more pleasant experience in all areas of your life. So powerful.
Whoa. So first of all, I was like on a journey with you right there, and I felt my own biology and chemistry shift. So that was powerful. And I think the part initially before you kind of hit the crescendo, but was for me was the beginning of the crescendo, was when, and I don't know if I'm saying this the way you said it, but it's like, you're arguing for what you don't want, or you're arguing for your limitations.
Yes.
You're arguing for your limitations.
We're not even arguing. We're making a really good case. It's the most convincing. And that's what the problem, that's the trap, because we locked it in. We just locked it into not working.
I love all the examples you gave of how to interrupt that pattern. And I'm glad you shared that, because that was going to be kind of like a follow-up question. Well, I'm wondering how some of this helped you create part of your business, and if you'd share a little bit more about the retreats you've done and what that's been like, and what are some of the transformations you've seen in some of the people that have been really, you have been their teacher, right? Because they signed up to join you on these retreats and these explorations.
Yeah, I would love to. I mean, it'll actually be good for me to get like into that energy. I love talking about retreats, and every time I do, it lights me up. I haven't done a retreat this year. This is the first year that it's, besides COVID, where I've just haven't pushed it. In the past, it was working really well. It was really easy to get people interested, because I was teaching really large classes in Santa Monica. So I had a lot of people listening and like taking my class. And I think the first thing I would just recommend to a teacher wanting to gather groups is teach classes, group classes, where they can get a feel for who you are. Because people want to travel with someone that they know. And even if you don't know them, they know you if they've taken your class. You might not know them, but they know you. And so you don't have to know them. They just have to know you. So I was teaching like 50 people a class, and I would just say, I have a trip coming up, and I would put a flyer. I would have a little flyer. It was nothing professional. It was like a little flyer I made. I mean, it was nice. I thought it looked good. And I just handed those out after class. And then people would line up like, where are you going next? So that was like the beginning of, I started doing them every month. For a couple years, I did like a new country every month, really. I did 8 different countries in a year, 1 year. And then the second year, I repeated places. I really loved retreats because I'm not a planner. And I don't want to be on a rigid schedule when I travel. And I would say this as a recommendation for anyone that wants to start doing retreats. It's best to plan a trip that you want. I think that's the easiest way. And it took me a little while to get there because I was planning retreats that I thought they wanted. And then I was not comfortable. I wasn't happy. I wasn't not happy, but I was like, wow, that was a lot of work at the end. I would teach a lot. I would give massage while I was there. I would go to dinner every night with everybody. We'd have 3 meals a day, and I was around people the whole time, and it was a lot. And I had 20 people on the trip. And I was working very hard because of the energy it required to just be present for 7 straight days. And then I evolved into this like system where I didn't have a partner. I had a partner early on, which was helpful, but it also, it didn't allow me to really feel into what I wanted because I was like co-creating with her, and she wanted certain things that I just adapted to without realizing it. That wouldn't have been my way. I didn't know that though until I got on my own. So I started doing retreats where they had their free time a lot. I taught really well. Like I'm just very focused when I'm present. So I didn't plan much, but when I'm on, like I'm there present. So I would teach 2 classes a day, maybe 3, a yin. So 2 regular classes and a yin. Maybe yin 2-3 times over the week. And then only like 2 dinners. And they would be on their own. And then no, like 1 or 2 excursions, because we don't have to go see the whole everything there every day. We don't need to go on tour. I don't. They can. And then they did. And so whoever wanted to could. So I give a lot of freedom with a really clear structure. And then I'm just on when I'm there. And then I get to rest and I get a massage and I like check out. I go to my room. I don't see people at dinner if I don't want to. I don't drink. They drink. I just decided like this is going to be for me too. So now like when I was doing those all over, and I was going on my own when I was traveling all over the world at 8 countries in a year. And I felt so revived after every retreat. I was like, this is amazing. This retreat is filling me up. And then over time, I got a little more focused on how for whatever reason, COVID, and then the retreat started to get smaller. And I was okay with that. Financially, I was sort of like, excuse me, like they can't get that much smaller because how am I going to make money? So it's been a process of me, again, like relaxing. It's not wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. Like I'm allowing myself the process of just moving through this next level of retreats, and I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't have the 40 people, like 30 people that I used to have that other people still have. So sometimes I look at that, I'm like, am I doing something wrong? They have a lot of people, but I'm honoring what I like to teach, how I want to show up, and I'm attracting a smaller group. I had a trip last year and it was amazing. I looked up and I just like had a little moment with my own inner guidance or spirit or whatever, and I was just like, what is happening? This is the best retreat I've ever felt. Like, this is what it's all about. Like, we had Hawaiian culture, we had like this deepening where there was only 4 people there, but we just went so deep. I felt like we were in another world. It was crazy. Everybody, it was just like, what was going on? And I remember like looking at me like, they're getting better, but they're getting smaller. And then the guide, like the words that came back were like, and they're going to keep getting smaller. I was like, wait, what? That can't be. And then I got to this point where I realized I'm the retreat. It's the retreats for me. Like, this is about retreating in, and it's irrelevant who's coming at this point. Right now, there's no reason to worry about that. It might evolve where more people, but that's not the purpose right now of the retreats for me. It's so that I can keep going in. And if there's 1 or 2 people that support me in going in because they also go in, then we rise together and we can support each other. But I'm not going to be the teacher that, I used to be this way, and it felt good at the time, was like, everyone's like, oh, Amanda, I can't wait to travel with you and see what you do and hang out with you. And now I just want people that they already know who they are and they already have that connection to spirit and themselves that I do. And then we just come together to go into ourselves together and we rise that way. So there's a few less. And I have to just accept that. And I'm totally fine with that. My work now is evolving.
Well, I so love the journey you took us on, because I feel like for all of those teachers out there, whether you're a yoga teacher, just somebody who wants to do retreats, I feel like you took us on your trajectory of like all the things that you learned. And I think some of what you shared is slightly counterintuitive to like what people will teach you from a business perspective. But what I really appreciate about it, and I appreciate the reminder for myself and my own kind of creating my own business for the first time as a solo entrepreneur. I say that because I'm not committing to being a solopreneur forever, but is that, when I believe, and this is the same thing I think as a teacher, and especially like a yoga teacher, but I think anything, and a lot of people are creating groups and memberships. If people join that thing, whatever it is that you're creating, it is something that you're offering them. Like, they have to justify that to a lot of people, right? Because of money or whatever. But what they really want is you. They want to be around you because of the vibration or the energy, And so what I hear you sharing is that the more you began to honor what would help you be your full in your inner being, right? Then you were able to create these retreats, which, by the way, you're going to have to tell the listener a couple of the countries, because I felt like you dangled the 8 countries, but people are like, where did she go? Where did she go? And there was COVID. You kind of touched on it, but I do think COVID had a significant impact on the world, which was out of everyone's control. And I think it's just a matter of, and you had a baby, you know what I mean? So like you had 2 huge things that kind of interrupted, but I think what I hear you sharing as well is that it's also allowing you to now create from this new place you're in, which includes not just all those learnings, but the learnings of becoming a mama and releasing yourself from situations and relationships that you were ready to move on from. And what you're going to create from here is going to be another iteration, and we'll call in those people that are drawn to that vibration.
Yes. And I mean, the best advice is like, trust. If you have a nudge to do this work, then you're called, and trust that. And that you don't have to be somebody. You are somebody. They'll come. If you have classes where people are coming and they love your classes, you don't have to do much more than just offer a place. Call me, because I can give you a lady that will help you book. She's great. And that's the hardest part, is finding the locations. And once you've got someone helping you do that, which I have this amazing woman, Gail, she's with Time Out to Travel. You can look her up or get my number and I'll give you her number. But she has locations all over. And you just find you just go. You just go. Once you feel yourself out, I mean, if you've done a retreat, you know how incredible it feels to be out of your everyday routine and to just experience yoga as a embodiment for a week. It's life-changing. It is transformative in 1 week. People have shifted in ways that I couldn't even imagine. We've gone to, let's see if I can remember all of them. I started going to Mexico. That was my first, Sayulita, Tulum. And then we added Hawaii. So I was doing Big Island. And then I did Bali and one other one. And then I started to go Switzerland. I did Switzerland 3 different times a year. So Switzerland was a hot one because it was a beautiful hotel. And my thing was I just want to find the most beautiful boutique hotels and do a little bit more high end. So I had a smaller group when I made it a little more high end. But that was fun. I mean, I got to travel to these 5-star hotels in the tops of these little mountains in the middle of who knows where. We were in Morocco. I did Greece. I mean, there's so many. There's more.
And now, shoot, the small island in Hawaii. I'm totally drawing a blank.
Oh, Lanai.
Right.
Beautiful. Yeah. There's so many. There's places. Every time I would travel, I'd be like, this is where I could live. Everywhere I went, I'd be like, okay, I love it here. And my thing was allowing me to just I would have clients that would recommend places, or the places would come to me. And I wasn't using Gail for some of the more high end ones. So that became fun because I was just I would open up to how are these places coming and what's the story? Why are they calling me? And I thought at one point I was like, I just want to go to the spiritually charged places. And, I had a lot of visions of where the retreats would be going if COVID, baby, relationship, all these things that have shifted my trajectory, but it's all good. I'm not attached to it. I know there's more, and I'm totally open to, I like change. And I'm good with change because it gives me life.
Well, I also feel like what you've been, demonstrating throughout the whole conversation is just what can happen when you choose to have a filter and a perspective of abundance and releasing attachment, which is not necessarily something that most of us are practiced at, because we come through a structure and a construct of physical world, which is like acquiring things and achievement based, which then in competition and commerce and all those things which perpetuate the race and also the comparison. And also then if I don't achieve this, then there must be something wrong. And it sets up that kind of polarity of right, wrong, good, bad. And that I'm not like throwing all that out. It's not something that I like to live my life by as well anymore, especially. But I also think it's often part of the human journey. I think what Amanda's sharing is like another way in, and that is available. It's not like she has some secret or she got a key to something that you all can't have. It's been part of her journey. And again, it's available to anyone. And one thing I want to I think we probably want to have Amanda back on the podcast, because this is a lot of really good stuff that we can keep talking about. And I think, I want to encourage everyone to let us know your experience of the conversation. And we will also put all of the deets that Amanda was sharing in the show notes. I think the thing I want to highlight just for a minute is in the very beginning, I can't remember exactly what you said, but it was very much in the beginning that I heard you when I asked a question about your story, and somehow what came up was like, it went right to the spiritual. And that's been the through line, or even when you were talking about how you were hitting challenges or, when you had that experience with the 4 people and you're like, what's happening? And so I think what I want to state the obvious that like, not everybody has connection to or has maybe a clear, open relationship with their creator or their God, and I think that that's okay. We're all on a path, but I think why I wanted to highlight it is that this podcast is about healing and attempting to normalize and make accessible healing and all the ways that healing really, I feel needs to happen to help create a lot more well-being in our world. And I don't think anybody would argue that, but to also make it more accessible that there's so many ways. And I just love that in the beginning, what I heard is like, your healing journey has had a lot to do with your relationship with God.
Yeah. And I will add, just because you brought it up, I remember, again, like, tend to like look up. I usually am like in Colorado where you see a lot of stars or in Hawaii you're seeing all the stars. I remember looking up in Colorado. I'm in this relationship I just had a baby. I'm postpartum and more. I won't get into it, but there was a lot going on. And I remember crying every day and wondering, when is this going to change? Because this is not a healthy situation. I am not comfortable here. This is not going to, again, my little voice that says, this isn't going to be forever. This is not going to be forever. It can't. It's just not possible. But there was some fear because I couldn't feel God. I couldn't feel, I had no connection to I'm going to cry again. Like I had such a disconnect to my physical understanding of my goodness. It was like gone. It just felt like I was looking up like, who is going to save me? Because I don't feel any of that power. I don't have it. I don't know how to find it again. I am stuck. And there might not be, I would hear myself think, it can't be like this. And then the part of me said, it could. It could. You've never felt this bad before. So you don't know that, And I remember I just waited. And I just kept going. I don't know. It was a few months. It wasn't that long. It was like 8 months that I was just like, what have I done? what am I going to do? Like, how do I get out of this? And luckily I knew I had to, like, I was brave. I made some choices. Like, I got out of the house with him. I got in with my parents. It seemed slow at the time, and it was rather quick now that I look back. And I got to feel more love. I watched my parents relate in a loving way. That reminded me what love looks like. And that slowly started to, like, and then I thought, I want to be a lawyer, and I want to be in this kind of service to help women. I remember thinking, women are suffering like this? Like, there's other women that are suffering like this? Because I am the strongest woman I know, and I'm suffering, stuck, feel like I'm like a battered, I felt so low. And I thought, this is a problem. Like, I want to help. There's something here. I was like an awareness. And then I thought, I want to go, like, I looked up like ways I could just, I was like, my mind, I just wanted anything that would give me a little light, just a little light, like some kind of hope that there is something from this. And I was sort of making it up because it was helping me to just feel focused in another way. And then, I just ended up, I moved without, I was coming for a trip, like a vacation, and we never went back because there was enough space. I would say, like, that healed me. It was the space away that I got to feel my presence again. It took some time, but it wasn't long before I was, like, vibrating back high. And I'm like, oh, here I am. I got it. This is okay. This is me. Good to know. It's there. And it was just suppressed. And I was in the cycle of abuse, and the gaslighting, and the mental suppression that happens when it gets really bad. And I was believing a lot of the stuff, and I was postpartum. I was already weak. I was just like, I was just believing it all. And it was, but also not believing it, but like thinking, how am I believing this? Yeah, there is something there. There's a lot of psychology there that I've studied. I really loved looking. I started researching narcissistic abuse, and that became a path that helped me understand, this is not me. This is a textbook scenario that I thought it was my soul's path, or, it is, but I thought this was like a unique situation to me. But I started to unravel that, and it became a way out too. So yeah, that was the darkest time I'd been in, but I now, like, look back and feel so appreciative for it, and to really get a sense of how important I am to myself.
Yeah, that's so powerful, Amanda. I so appreciate, like, you reconnecting to that. And I think, two things that I heard. One was, even when how I heard you sharing it, when you were questioning your connection, it's like, to me, you were continuing to cultivate it by just having the dialogue, and I think we don't always recognize, because we think about prayer and prayers being answered and things are happening all the time. And just because we can't see it doesn't mean it's not in motion. I also really appreciate that, even though your life is in a very different place and you are, that what you just demonstrated, at least from where I'm sitting, is that there is a tenderness and a compassion for that part of you that went through all of that, and can reconnect to that. And in all the ways that it was stimulating you, and how you used each of those stimulations to take care, to nurture yourself, to care for yourself. And all of that were steps. And I think sometimes, especially women and mothers, we're so preoccupied with taking care of others that we can't always see what's available for us. And maybe there's more that we want to do and can do, but not acknowledging what we are already doing, I think, is super important for that kind of, that fortification again, that kind of reconnection to the whole truth and not just part of the truth.
Yeah. And trusting that what was good for me was going to be good for everybody else. That was the hardest thing, because it doesn't look like that often. It's like, if I would just be a little different and accommodate, or, there was ways that I was thinking, if I leave and my son won't have his dad, is that my right? Do I have that right? That was the hardest hang up. I didn't think that was fair. That was the hardest part. And then, feeling like I was strong enough. I had managed this for a while, so I could go back to that way of managing it and everyone would be together. I'm the problem because now I'm going to leave and I'm going to create this big mess. But when I recognized that all of that is an illusion and the only way through is to just be so connected to myself. It's so hard to feel that as an empath where you just want to you feel everybody else's pain and you just want to focus there because it feels somewhat normal to help others. You help them by helping you. Yeah. And I believe that. I know that he's better off. I know that he's healing. I know that Lion's on a path that he's meant to be on. I know that my son is Lion. I feel now so good about trusting that. And I think that's something that is golden. I wouldn't know that at the level that I do if I hadn't gone through it.
Yeah. Well, that's so powerful and beautiful. Yeah. Well, I guess I just have kind of one quick question before we wrap it up. And that is based on what you shared and you took us on a journey, which I'm so grateful for. What's present for you right now? That you would leave the listeners with as a level of encouragement to them on their own healing journey. And also, as I feel like it's been really highlighted here, which I'm not surprised in general, is about their own self-actualization. Mm-hmm. But what would you?
I feel like I'm very open with you. So thank you. I feel like this is a therapy session, but I do feel very good about letting emotion through and connecting to authentically expressing and really being honest within. And I think that that's a big deal. I think if we can just, even if you're listening and it feels like you're trying to hold it all in, and that might be a better way, it's just giving, I hope that I've given someone permission to cry through some sharing, to see that it's okay if tears blow out. There's probably some in here that I'm getting a release. It's so great. I'm rising in my consciousness because of this conversation. So I would just encourage you or people to just take some, if it's easy, go for it. And if it's really uncomfortable, to be honest with yourself and your emotions, to just take time by yourself and just connect. There's nothing wrong with feeling upset and feeling feeling like you gotta cry. There's literally nothing wrong with that. That doesn't mean you're a mess, even though I didn't put on any makeup so that I could just cry. But I didn't plan on crying. But I would just say just it starts by holding yourself in a way that you would a really great friend or a child. Mm-hmm. That maybe you don't even recognize your child crying as a good thing. So there's a lot of, I have to check myself. He's crying and I'm like, stop crying. And then I'm like, wait, should he? No, you don't have to stop crying. Let's get it, keep crying. So we are just so programmed to stop the tears, but I think that's really how we start to open and get to know who we are and release all this baggage that we're carrying.
I love that. I love that you emphasize that, because I feel like that is actually one of the themes that is part of my campaign. This kind of programming, as you mentioned, it's that automatic response is shh, don't cry, and how that has really messed us up. And so thank you for that, and all the ways that you described that, and all the ways that it can be honored, and just give yourself permission. Wow. Well, the invitation is here for you to come back, because I think there's so much here, and I would love to. I love that, I had no idea where this conversation was going to go. So I want to make sure that's really clear to the listener as well. I want to be talking to all kinds of people with all different paths, and we will learn together. But where can the listener find you? Where can they find you? Please share.
Okay, yeah. My website is my first and last name, AmandaDykann.com. You can find me there. You can email me from there. You can see where I'm teaching, but email me from there. And then if you want any info on the retreats or if you want Gail's contact, I'm happy to give it to you. So find me there and email me, and we can connect. Yeah, I live on Maui. I teach in Manhattan Beach when I travel to LA. And yeah, I'm on Instagram, amanda.yogi.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I so like this conversation blew me away, and I'm just so grateful for your time and your honesty and your candor. And what a gift. Like, what a gift. I feel like you took us on this journey, and I know that this conversation is going to touch and help a lot of people. So thank you. I love you.
Thank you so much. I love you. This has been great.
Thank you so much for being here for this conversation with Amanda. I hope you heard something today that invites you deeper into your own truth, your own healing, and your own knowing of what's right for you. Amanda's story is such a beautiful reminder that spiritual practice isn't about performing enlightenment. It's about living honestly. It's about listening to your intuition, even when it's hard, and choosing what aligns with your well-being, your presence, your wholeness. If this episode moved you, please consider sharing it. Send it to a friend who might need to hear it. Leave a review and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. This work isn't just personal, it's collective, and your part matters. Until next time, be gentle with yourself and trust, please trust the wisdom of your own inner voice.